Next, we'll bring in Minar. Can you hear me? What's
Yeah,
up?
I can hear you.
There we go. I was going to say, don't be 0 for 2. What's happening today, sir?
What up, Narab? Nice to meet you, man. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. I got to adjust your volume on my end just a little. So, what's on your mind today?
My brother, it's very nice to be here. It's kind of a dream of mine for you helping me meet Andrew Wilson, then you guys help me blow my channel up, and then we kind of I get to debate Destiny for once and for all, and maybe he gives me his wife if he has another one.
Well, be careful what you wish for,
I know I might actually have it happen, but yeah, hey, I'm just a small guy. I'm just trying to do a little bit of politics. I got really into the kind of politics of it when I saw they kind of screwed Bernie Sanders out of it, but I didn't have a YouTube channel or anything.
Mhm.
But then I kind of started really getting into it when I saw that Trump got assassinated and everything, and it kind of got really heated. So I'm into this, and I have a couple of questions, I guess, about maybe politics or maybe religion, morality, whichever you would like to maybe discuss.
Whatever's on your mind's fine by me. I'm good with either of those topics.
Really? Okay, so maybe if we have some time, we can dive a little bit into both. Well, I guess just to start, would you say, because I'm not really that deep into how you are right now, are you leaning more liberal or conservative?
Oh, definitely more conservative. I consider
Okay.
myself three markers I use to consider my politics. The first is populist, and by what I mean by populist, I think the central issue in our government is that it is corrupt or inept and does not care about the will of the people. It doesn't care about your will if you're a conservative, if you're liberal, if you're white, if you're black, if you're Christian, Muslim, atheist. It doesn't care. All it cares about is entrenching its own power for the elites. And until we end that, then all other disagreements we have are sort of irrelevant. Second, I consider myself libertarian adjacent, which by that I mean I certainly believe the government should exist, but I think the values of personal freedom and liberty is where I come from a standpoint of most of the issues I look at. And third, I consider myself conservative. Which is to say that I believe conservative values, I believe in small government, conservative values such as the nuclear family, a relationship with your wife, your kids, etc., being the most important thing that we could build the country from the unit of.
When you say you're libertarian, is that an adjacent for religion? So you're not religious?
No, that's not an adjacent. So I separate. I do think that what our government functions under is different than just a pure system of morality. So I wouldn't consider myself, for example, a Christian nationalist. A Christian nationalist, someone like Andrew Wilson, might say, you would have to ask him on the specifics, but he might say, for example, that he wants our government to legislate his religious preferences in all instances. So, for example, if he feels that homosexuality is a sin, he may say, therefore, it should be illegal to engage in homosexual activity. I wouldn't
Well,
say that. I don't know that he does say that. I know he's against gay marriage, but
well,
I
you wouldn't
wouldn't
say
say
that.
that. Go ahead.
So you wouldn't say, for example, the church would be a better arbiter of my politics and of my policies in my neighborhood than the government, central government,
What do you mean by arbiter?
central federal government.
But
Like
it's
the
a
arbiter, yeah, you wouldn't prefer, for example, you call yourself a conservative, but you wouldn't prefer, for example, more of like a church boundary set by the church over your state of the laws that should be followed instead of maybe random politicians forcing these laws upon you.
no. I would not be more for that because
Why? How can you kind of reconcile that with your position of being a conservative and maybe religious?
okay,
Because
many ways I could reconcile that because for me, being a Christian,
libertarian values have to go against certain traditional moral values. You
but
agree?
let me explain. You asked the question, right? So for me, being a Christian, my morality is has nothing to do with what is legal. For example, it may be legal to cheat on my wife, but that is immoral. I don't know that it should be a crime
That's what
for
I'm asking you. How do you reconcile that?
well, let
How do
me
you reconcile the
let,
libertarian values, for example, allow weed when you don't want it? And why do you actually prefer that? Why do you prefer the politician to make your laws for you over the church?
I'll answer, but if you interrupt me every 15 seconds, you won't get the
Sorry.
answer and it'll just be 5 minutes of you saying, "But why? But why? But why?" So, we good? Okay. So what I'm saying is I think that I don't think that my morality should be the arbiter of everything that's legal, nor do I think that what is legal should be the arbiter of my morality. I think that I understand that we have a country that will not just be for specifically those with my specific religious denomination. And therefore, I have to understand because of that, that the best we could do is come up with a system that prioritizes my freedom to practice my religion and my beliefs as I see fit. The question I would ask you in return is, what is your religious denomination, and what if some of the practices that you feel are moral that another religious denomination comes into power and they're the ones in your particular neighborhood that now set the laws, and maybe they do it all throughout the country?
Yeah, for
Then what do you
example,
do?
I have traditional morality. For example, this trans values. You guys, libertarians, you might value trans values and gay rights. Maybe me as a traditional moral guy, it's against me, so I'd prefer the church to come in here. And then I guess my question would be for you is, why is it actually better? Why is it better?
What is your religious
Why is it better to have a system that all these values are, I guess, respected, and there's a politician there that adheres to these values over the church and their traditional morality? I still don't understand why, if the politician is better than my church, which I respect and I follow 100%. There's a reason I follow the church.
Okay, what is your religion?
Oh, I'm let's say it's a Muslim, yeah.
You're Muslim. I don't want your beliefs to tell me what the law should be in me. For example, if you are a particular denomination, please let me. I'm trying to be reciprocating, let you finish your thoughts, so let me finish my thoughts, right? For example, there are some that practice Islam that think that women should not be allowed to leave the house with their face uncovered, should not be allowed to leave the home without a man. I do not want that to be the law. I think that's disgusting. In fact, I'll go a step further. There are countries where that is the law. Why don't you go there if you would prefer them?
But my question is, why not? As a conservative, why won't you want your traditional values to be the law? I don't. Why do you want to be more open to potential secular values and other tradition and other?
Okay,
morality?
so just to be clear, my church, the particular denomination I come to, thinks that Islam is blasphemy and thinks we should execute everyone who's Muslim. You would be in favor of that becoming the law? Why not? Why not? Why would you be against that? That's a conservative value. You would be for that, right?
It would be everyone has the respect to their own laws.
Well, no, that's no. Not every no. That's not true at all. Not every religion believes that. Now you're adding things in. What you said was, why shouldn't everyone want their particular church to be the complete arbiter of law? So I'm giving you an example. I'm giving you an example of a particular church that thinks you should be put to death for practicing your religion.
Obviously,
you would respect. Why wouldn't that be allowed? Says who? My church has the total authority now.
Rob Noir, by the way, you're the one that won't allow a person to speak now. Let me explain why it wouldn't be allowed to operate. Because what would happen is, let's say, like what's happening in United Arab Emirates. There's multiple countries. They're even selling pork, but it would be in a very confined community, in a very confined area, only in a certain area of town. They don't sell pork anywhere else. And basically, the laws are applicable. If they want to go to church, they do. They have their own laws. As long as they don't break what we call, and I'll give you an example, like what you have here in liberal laws, federal law. So what we do is we instate a federal level kind of law. It's called the Sharia law, where if you cannot break it. So you cannot sit there murdering your babies for sacrifice rituals, but you could do your own rituals as long as you're not murdering your own babies. For example, that's an example. It would be, there's a threshold, which is the federal level. And you see that everywhere. You see that in United Arab Emirates.
So what you're saying is you're okay with federal laws that usurp the law of your church. Why would you do that? As a conservative valued Muslim, why would you do that?
No, the federal law would be your church, and then as long as other religion. I'm trying to address a certain question you asked.
No, you're not. No, what you're doing is hedging. What you're doing is hedging. Your criticism to me was as follows. Well, if your religion and if you have beliefs that come from sort of a religion, then you should be totally in favor of your church having total control over the laws. I say, okay, but the problem is that may not coincide with other people that live around here that should have the right to live around here. For example, what if a church says that your religion is blasphemous and therefore shouldn't be allowed to be practiced? And then you completely then you completely turn on what your initial criticism was, and you
My
say,
only question
"Oh
was,
no,
why is that
please let
better?
me finish." And so then what you say is, but no, we would have laws that exist outside the scope of just the church being in control, and say that there would be specific
Because
areas
you
where your
asked
church would be in
me
control.
if there's a
No,
church
what it
that wants to
is
murder.
it's a fundamental contradiction, because now you're saying the church isn't the final say. So there would be a body that either the church would willfully accept, or that would exist above the church that would say, no, there's still certain things you can't do. You
So,
even if your religion says that you're allowed
against
to
your church
execute a
values,
woman,
yes.
if your religion says that you're
Against
allowed
your
to
church's
execute.
values, yes. Against your church's values.
Okay,
you would have
my
a federal
church's
law, you're
values,
right.
my church's
question here,
my,
Rob Noor, is very
it's-
suspect.
It
Rob
is
Noor, you have
not
to let me
suspect.
talk.
It is
You
very
have to
what
let me
you're
talk.
doing. No, I'm
It's very
first off, I don't
suspect.
have to let you talk at all. It's my
You
show,
have
so
to,
I can talk
because
when I
let
want.
me
Second,
explain.
you've had a large portion of time to talk, and you've interrupted me more than I've interrupted you. So I don't have to capitulate to your demands, which is another example. I think the way you're behaving here slightly might show why we wouldn't want people like you having total control over power
Why wouldn't you
without
want
any
the
sort
church
of
to
like
have the
democracy.
dominant federal?
So I'm explaining your question. What we could see is that your original statement of the problem you have with my system, one that prioritizes religious freedom, giving people a choice, and not having the government instill authoritarian laws based on whatever particular dominant religion is. Your criticism of that seems to be, but you should prefer it as long as it's your religion. Why wouldn't you want them to have the ultimate say? And then when I point out the first criticism I point out, you're like, yeah, but the church wouldn't have ultimate say. Actually, the way it would work is there'd be a body outside of that scope that would say no. For example, if what happens if two religions completely contradict each other? If your religion says we stone women for adultery, and my religion says we execute people that murder people for things that aren't capital crimes like adultery.
Okay.
How do we
Rob.
decide that difference? Which religion
Rob.
wins in your government?
No worries. Hey, I just want to bring it down a little bit. I have a lot of respect for you, Rob.
That's
Let's bring
cool.
it down a little bit. But yeah, what I want to, yeah, sure. I'll reconcile and I'll answer that question. But you have to understand that you shouldn't have a problem with my proposition, because if we follow your proposition, which is have respect to the minority or the majority of the people consensus, then you're opening yourself to exactly my description of what's going to happen. All I have to do is become the majority Muslim in America, bring a politician and force him to enforce Sharia law upon your country, and you're going to be forced to now accept the Sharia law. So my question is, again, bringing
No,
it
that's
back,
your system. You
why
have it
is
completely
it for you?
backwards.
No, but why do you prefer a system like that, a libertarian system where it allows you to lose control over your own country and your own values? Why won't you, for example, push for a Christian ethics system, a Christian morality form of law, where it follows your church, and it becomes basically you follow your church as for federal law, and then everything else you give it down to the state level. As long as it doesn't break federal law, you allow it, and that's what freedom of religion would be expressed as. So why would you not? Why is your system better if it's abusable? Like I explained, I could just make a majority Muslims and take over your whole country. Why is your system better than mine? Instead of like United Arab Emirates. Let me 10 more seconds. United Arab Emirates, they're a minority. They know they're going to attract a lot of tourism. What they do is they make a Sharia law federal level, and then they allow other communities to coexist. Taiwanese, whatever religion you want to be, Taoism, as long as you're not breaking their Sharia law and you're not drinking in public, for example, or not fornicating in public. Go ahead.
You gave a criticism that exactly meets your system more than the system I'm advocating for. For example, in your system of whatever the dominant religion is makes the law, then you say, but what if Muslims became the dominant religion? Yes, if we've already prioritized whatever the dominant religion in makes the law, then in the United States, if Islam became the dominant religion, it would in fact then make the law. We'd have the precedent set that they would be able to please. They would have the system already set up and the principles that would already set up and say that would be perfectly fine. We adopt a system that says whatever the majority religion is, they completely set the laws and the rights of the minority don't apply. For example, if the majority religion would say that women should be stoned for adultery, right? So again, what I'm pointing out is the very criticism that you outlined as the main criticism with the system that I'm embracing is that it would allow a majority Muslims to immigrate to this country and then take control of the system. Of course, the truth is that in any system, a powerful group could use violence or threats of violence to technically usurp violence, whether it be a system bulwarked by the Constitution, bulwarked by religious theocracy, etc. But your criticism that you're making is certainly not unique to my system, and in fact becomes more likely in your system. So you've yet to give a compelling argument. Every time that you
My
criticize,
argument is compelling.
every time you
It
criticize my,
secures. No, my
every time
argument
you
is very
criticize,
compelling, bro.
please, let me finish. Every time you criticize my system or what you think my system is, you end up giving explanations that is a more critical statement
No,
of your system. So again,
because I'm
I'll tell you why I'm against. I'll make it as easy as possible. I despise Sharia law. I do not want someone like you. Do you believe in Sharia law, by the way?
my brother, my system, all it does is it allows
Do you
you to
believe? I
have
asked this
freedom of
specific. I
expression
asked
as
this.
long as you don't break the church's federal
I
boundaries.
asked
That's
a
all,
question.
or like the
I
religious
asked a
boundaries.
specific question to you. It was weird you couldn't answer. Do you believe in Sharia law?
Yeah, of course. I
Okay.
believe
I don't want
in a
your
central
people.
federal law to rule
I
them
don't
all.
want
Yes.
people like. I do not want our country to be adherent to Sharia
All
law.
it is, it means federal law. Literally, think about it. Like literally, it
It
just
is
means.
not. It is not. I don't want Sharia law to be the end all be all and then rely on them to say, but trust us, Sharia law
Okay,
is just
Rob,
the
but
federal law. But at the individual state level, we'll decide whether. No,
yeah,
I think that's terrible. I'll give you
yeah.
final word,
Why
and then
not? Why
I
not?
got other
Once you
guests to get
let,
to.
let
So.
me let me give you the argument here. Is that you at least
You have 30
allowed
seconds. You have 30 seconds, then I gotta get to the next caller. So go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. So what the argument here is if you adhere to religious law and you allow it to become a federal, and then you allow freedom of religious, as long as it doesn't break those limits and boundaries, you set thresholds, and you allow the church to set the boundaries of the law for the states and for the federal level. The argument is you ensure your site is going to become successful forever. You ensure no matter what kind of majority comes in, or if you become a minority, you're not going to lose your your religious upholding of your own values and morality and laws, and therefore you ensure your society becomes successful. What is your argument why I should hire a politician and his whims and desires of the majority should be accepted? What is the argument? That's ridiculous. All it is it's better for the community because I guess the gays need more voices, the 1,500 of them.
It's nice for you to downplay what I'm talking about to that, but it's not surprising, seeing as how you have no idea how to articulate your own system, that you would misrepresent what I believe as well. Your system would not operate as you're saying. For example, if Sharia law became the dominant federal law in this country, you say, but you would still have the right to practice with every religion that you wanted. Well, who gets to define what is an acceptable religion? For example, if a religion springs up and says homosexual sex and marriage is part of our religion, you're telling me Sharia law would say perfectly acceptable.
No,
You would
it
have
breaks
Sharia law.
it
Please
breaks
let me
the federal
finish. Please
level.
let me finish. You had your last word on this. So you could see how nonsensical this would be. The idea that you're saying, oh, the gays, if you have voting, if you have a system that's not dominated by a theocracy, then the gays will have a say.
Why are
And
the
we'll
politicians better?
eliminate that through my system. But don't worry when we talk about all the problems that come through my system of Sharia law, because you would have freedom to do whatever you wanted anyways, as long as it was somehow within your own religion. It's nonsensical. It really is. Everyone can see through this. We don't want Sharia law. I think that you're a good advocate as to why I don't want a theocracy, because the problem is you wouldn't get to control who is in charge of that theocracy. And once you capitulate to allowing an authoritarian church to run things, then you are beholden to whatever they say. And if they say that I wouldn't be allowed to practice my particular religion, then I wouldn't have a say in that. So thank you so much for the call. I look forward to you, with your debate with Des and everything. Appreciate the call.
All right, hook me up with Andrew Wilson, would you?
No, you could find him. I don't.
All right, Rob, bring
it
me
easy.
on again, okay? Some other time.
All right, we'll see. All right, let me write down the name as some people try to get to. I am.
Oh man, I fucking destroyed Rob.
Look forward to you, with your debate with Des and everything.
Don't know
Appreciate
that
the
I'll
call.
get everyone in specific.
All right, hook me up with Andrew Wilson, would you?
No, you could find him. I don't.
All right, Rob, bring
it
me
easy.
on again, okay? Some other time.
All right, we'll see. All right, let me write down the name as some
right,
people
let's
try
go
to get.
one
more time, we'll go back to.
Nice.
Ivy
Nice
Joker.
room.
See if
Nice.
they're good to go.
All right, y'all. You have
Don't know
a
that I'll
hard
get
time to
everyone in
follow me.
specific
Let's
order.
go. Let's see this guy. Bro, the guy wouldn't answer my question, man. All I wanted to do is, why is the politician better than your, church adhering to your church's values?
Go
and
one
laws?
more
Like, I
time,
don't
we'll go
get it.
back to Ivy Joker. See if they're good to go. Ivy Joker, what's happening? Can you
I'm
hear
gonna
me?
come back.